Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Weber. Today, we're going to talk about lesson planning in adapted physical education activity or inclusive physical education. So, whether you call it inclusive physical education, unified physical education, this could also have to deal with Special Olympic fitness and sport education programs. This falls in line with all of that under the umbrella of adapted physical activity. So we're going to talk about adapted physical activity lesson planning today for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So working with people with intellectual, social, physical impairments that may uh, be a barrier to achieving activity levels that are in line with the general population. So the biggest reason why we want to promote adaptive fitness for people with disabilities is because they fall below, as far as quality of life goes, health implications or health impairments that they'll have to endure throughout a lifetime. They have lower financial stability. They typically require dependency, whether it's their parents or another caretaker. So take in consideration that these individuals may go through a whole lifetime without being able to, maybe it's work, maybe it's join a social group, maybe it's they'll never understand kind of concepts to sports or games that we all take for granted. Um, then you have to also consider the social components that play into it as well. So people with disabilities typically will have lower social skills and will lack those community groups to spend time with. So this can develop isolation and depression and lead to anxiety and other stress factors that can lower the quality of life, increase sedentary behaviors, and also increase obesity. So these are all detriments that we see in the general population, but we see it more so for people with disabilities. So when it comes to lesson planning for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, we want to first focus on the warm-up. So first, starting off with the warm-up, we want to make sure that it's fun, there's music, and it's simple. Okay, so make it engaging, make it fun, make it simple. You can include equipment such as scarves. You could add in something like hula hoops, or you could have something like noodles. So if you wanted to give them an object to manipulate while they are dancing, to give everyone a piece of equipment, you could do it that way, or you could do something body weight style. So it could either be a dance, something like Zumba, dynamic stretching, something that's engaging both for the upper and lower body. So whether if you're going side to side in a dance movement, making sure that you're doing something with the arms, whether they're going out wide, whether they're going overhead, whether they're going down low, because if somebody's utilizing a wheelchair, we want to make sure that we're providing both lower and upper body opportunities. So something like scarves, you can perform circles with both ways, both arms, figure eights, over the head, circles. You can do some fist bumping. You can wrap it around the waist. You can go underneath the legs. You can throw it up and catch it. You can throw it up and catch it on a different body part. When it comes to the hula hoops, those are something that we can jump in and out of, or you can spin, or you can backspin, or you can run around, you can slide around. You can do a lot of different fun games with hula hoops, with music, and then also having noodles, whether that's pretending that they are barbells and that you're doing bicep curls, shoulder presses, bent over rows, squats, deadlifts. So practicing maybe some functional fitness patterns with the noodles, and then maybe using these for games. So if it's scarves, maybe you're playing some type of flag tagged where you're trying to reach out and grab someone else's flag. One-on-one, 2v2s, you can do everyone for themselves. Hula hoops, you can do something like red light, green light across the court where everyone gets inside of a hula hoop like it's a car. Green light, go, walk, skip, any locomotor skill across the gym. Yellow light, some type of balance exercise or stability exercise or balance exercise. And then either for green light, you can do a locomotor skill. So that's something that you could explore with hula hoops. And then something like noodles, you could play something like sharks and minnows, where you have students run all the way down the court without getting tagged by someone in the middle, who we call the sharks, and the minnows go across the gym while the sharks try to tag them with a noodle. And then if you get tagged, you become a shark and grab a noodle. So those would be some exercise and activities you can perform during your warm-up stages. After the warm-up, I like to have a low organized game similar to the ones above with the sharks and minnows, but maybe these are just going to be cool down games from the warm-up. So it could be some type of tossing game or bowling game. So tossing or bowling is a good choice after a dynamic warm-up to kind of cool things down, but also work on some different object control skills. Then you could do something like disc toss or baseball swings or softball swings or throwing, underhand and underhand when it comes to the yarn balls, which are probably the best piece of equipment in adaptive PE. And then you could also perform low organized games such as hula hoop relay, where they toss a beanbag into a hula hoop and then they turn the hula hoop over every time they get the beanbag inside of the hula hoop until they get to the other side. Or you could just see how far they can go in 1 minute and then try to beat their time the next time. Other low organized games you can perform, you have Hungry Hungry Hippos, which basically could be any sport or activity that you're about to teach. Put all the equipment in the middle of the gym. You have 5 to 10 stations or 5 to 10 groups around the middle of the court. They run into the middle, grab a piece of equipment, go back to their group, put it inside of a hula hoop, whether that's football, whether that's soccer, it could be a volleyball, it could be a basketball, okay, it could be hockey, it could be pickleball, and they have to go to the center, then maybe balance it back to their group. Something that maybe involves their sport, or it could just be fun, something like bean bags, and you could use scooters for Hungry Hungry Hippos. Okay, then we have cone games, so builders and bulldozers. So I'll just put cone games here. Basically, you scatter all the cones around the court, and you can have them do different type of locomotor skills around the cones. You can tell them they have to touch maybe 20 cones in 2 minutes, or when the music starts, you can see how many cones they can touch in 20 seconds. You could have them take hula hoops around the court and try to lasso the cones. You could also have them knock the cones down as quick as they can, and then try to get back to the other side. But don't be too strict on them getting past a certain side, because you might be waiting for some individuals with physical impairments, so you don't want to rush them. So you just kind of stop it once they're able to knock all the cones down. And then how fast does it take them to pick the cones up? And then you try to beat those times afterwards. So that's something I would do with cones. Um, like I said, we talked about Hungry Hungry Hippos you could play. That's another low organized game. Hula hoop relay, you could do that with not only a beanbag, but also a disc. You could do that with a soccer shot. So you could do that with a bocce roll. So these are some low organized games and some warm up activities before we get into kind of the main dish or the main objective for the day. So really the first 30 minutes is to get them motivated, get them excited, have the music on if it's appropriate, and get them moving and prepared for bigger obstacles that are going to happen in the second half of the class. So after you go over your initial warm up, you're either going to do sports or you're going to do fitness, okay? And You can use fitness as a warm-up, so you could do a 30-minute or you could do a 10-minute dynamic warm-up with some dance or kickboxing. You could follow it up with 20 minutes of stations where you have maybe 4 stations and you're there for 5 minutes per station, and you're there for 20 minutes, and you have maybe a push, pull, squat, and hinge station set up. Okay, so you could do that also at the end of class. Maybe you're spending time on teaching form, so utilizing the equipment. Maybe you're getting the dumbbells out, kettlebells out, the med balls out, the agility ladders, and you're really kind of going in and focusing on quality of movement when it comes to the fitness. Or you can go into sports skills. So my suggestion when teaching sports is to have either two approaches, which is a skills progression, or you would do stations. So think of 4 or 5 of the main skills of the sport, divide them into stations and have them circulate throughout the gym. Or you can do skill progressions, which is when you have a 3-step process, which is basically first step is getting in a circle with everyone that has a piece of equipment from the sport. And then it's going over about 10 minutes of individual skills that you can perform with that piece of equipment. Maybe some of those skills may involve a partner, but try to make them individual so that everyone has their own piece of equipment and the most on-time activity time and attempts. Then you would do something with partners, pairs. It could be another low organized game that involves that sport that's fun and engaging, that involves the skills of the sport that you just learned. Then you're going to go into bigger group scenarios. So getting into maybe circles, if it's beach volleyball, keeping it up in a circle. If it's soccer, maybe you have one person in the middle and you have people passing it on the outside, or you create a cone scenario where you have different people at different cones and different circumstances. So one person at one cone might pass it to the next person, then one person might dribble it to the next cone, another person might shoot it at the net. And so creating different scenarios that enact the skills of the sport. Or in that last third step, you could provide some type of modified game, whether it's a one-on-one, 2v2, 3v3, or an adapted version of that game. So if it's stations, remember 3 to 5 skills then necessary for teaching the game of the sport, provide stations and make them safe. And then the second scenario is the skills progression where everyone has a piece of equipment. You go over skills, then you go over partner scenarios, and then you go over group scenarios. Okay, so that's how I would teach sports. Again, for fitness, you could do stations or you could do group fitness. So if it is group fitness, maybe providing 1 or 2 pieces of equipment per student at a mat. And so maybe you're going over a circuit training or body weight training, whatever it may be, with or without equipment that involves upper and lower body, maybe a little bit of core, and or practicing some of the skill related components of fitness like agility, power, speed, coordination, balance, and then also the health related components of fitness, which would be cardiorespiratory and endurance. If you wanted to do some of that during this time, during that 30 minutes of maybe a 15-minute sustained walk, and maybe it's outside or maybe it's a bike ride, something that's cardiorespiratory fitness. Remember to assess before you engage in this program or how you lesson plan. Make sure you know where everybody's at before you plan a 15-minute run or walk. It may not be practical. You may have to get different waivers signed in order to leave your gym. So most likely you're going to want to stay in your gym with your individuals because it's going to be the most structured place for them to be, especially if you don't want to worry about outside resources. So this is how I would structure my lesson plans. At the end, I like to have some type of circle scenario. So a 1, 2, 3, and we do Seahawks because it's our logo. So we'll do 1, 2, 3 Seahawks at the end of the class. So make it more of a like a group kind of huddle up. You can do a stretch at the end of class. This is when I would recommend your static stretching, your yoga to get them calmed down before they leave. You can also start off with yoga and calm stretching before the workout or during the warm up. So lots of options. This is how I would structure it. I don't recommend doing mat exercises when you first get in there. I tried it out. I didn't like the results because I felt like there was just too much transition time of getting those mats out of the way and getting onto the next cycle of the class. So um, it's good if you're focusing on fitness for that day, but I don't recommend it as a warm up strategy because people, when they see a mat and sit down, they just want to relax. So if you are going to use mats, make it intentional, make it a yoga class, make it a stretching focused class. But if you just want to generally warm them up, get them moving with some dance or locomotor movements during your warm up, maybe some uh, cool kickboxing activities that you can perform. Then you go into your low organized games. This should take about 30 total minutes. And then go into the second half, which would be sports or fitness for 30 minutes, either creating stations for skills of the sport or stations of fitness or doing group fitness or doing group sports as a class. So this is how I would structure adaptive physical activity lesson plans. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. We have any questions out there? Let me know. I appreciate it.